to our first topic of discuss this Monday afternoon. The rising demand for scarce dollars by importers has triggered fresh fall in the value of the Naira and the parallel market, popularly known as the black market. A fall in Naira's currency value has affected the prices of commodities in the market, as the Naira exchanges at 596 Naira to a dollar at the parallel market and 415 Naira 83 kobo to the dollar at the official market, creating a gap of 180 Naira 17 kobo per dollar. This development, caused by a shortage of forex in the economy, has escalated the prices of local or locally made products, causing consumers to express dissatisfaction over the hike in prices of commodities. Let's talk more about this and get to understand what it means. I'm being joined live via Zoom by the Director of Research and Strategy at Chapel Hill, Denham, Mr. Tajuddin Ibrahim. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Ibrahim. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, with all of the efforts of the Apex Bank, as at the close of work last Friday, I don't know what has happened today, we're yet to get full details, but the dollar exchanged for about 596 Naira, and some even said 600 Naira. Well, let's stay with 596 to be a little conservative, and the official rate remains 415 Naira. Now, there is a gap of 180 Naira 17 kobo. What do you think is really happening? Can we address this disparity with all of the efforts being made by the Apex Bank?
So thank you very much. I think the disparity, will be hard for the CBN to achieve if there is no implementation of policies. And I say this because the spread between between the official market and the parallel market a year ago was just around 74 Naira. So now we are talking about something well over 180 Naira. So which reflects the impact of low liquidity in the market. And so what we really need is for us to have increased inflows into the market in terms of supply. And the supply, to my mind, we should not be expecting it from just the CBN alone. We should look forward to increase in supply, from the CBN, from also the banks, and also from autonomous sources. So we need all those to be combined, for us to have an increase in supply to the market. And that is when we can be talking about stability of the currency, either at the official market or at the parallel market. I think increase in supply is crucial in this case, in my view.
Great stuff there, as usual from you, Mr. Ibrahim. But let me follow up. The Bureau de Change operators, the central bank has refused to give forex to them for some time now. And we still see this disparity continues to grow. Now, what are you thinking? Are you one of those that believe that we need the BDCs to stabilize this market? Or what do you think can be done along that line? Because the CBN seems to be overwhelmed.
Absolutely. So I think, we need the BDC to support on the supply front, but I also agree with the CBN, that, closed them out of the FX market. So what the BDC need to do, in my view, is for them to address, the issues that were raised by the CBN. The CBN believes that they really are not supplying to the market. Meanwhile, whereas the CBN was selling to them on a steady basis. So when you get, sale from the CBN and then you do not supply the same to the market, or you supply at a substantially high premium to the market, then the CBN would naturally not be pleased with that. So that, largely speaking, explains why, what the CBN's concern is. And my view is that the BDCs should look to address that concern. If that is addressed, then we may begin to talk about getting them back into the official market. But without addressing it and ensuring that there are regulations around their operations, and also more importantly, in my view, there is transparency around the pricing of the currency. We most likely are not going to see the BDCs come back to the market. No doubt they can support the overall liquidity in the market, but they really need to sit with the CBN and agree on how they could be regulated and how they could be of support to the overall objective of the CBN to achieve stable currency in the country. So if they do not do all this, we most likely are just going to see a case where they remain short out of the official FX market, in my opinion.
At the moment, we still see very difficult. The central bank is struggling to meet up with manufacturers' demands, industry players, end users, all that need this foreign exchange, of course, to bring in products and some raw materials and all of this. And the CBN has said it sometime that they might also stop even supplying forex to the banks, maybe towards the end of the year. Mr. Ibrahim, if this happens, what do you think would happen to the Naira? Are you thinking that we should devalue the currency? Many have said that the currency is not even rightly priced. You mentioned that too.
So I think one thing that we should all bear in mind is that pricing of any currency is a function of demand and supply. If I make a demand and I get the demand that I make, that is when we'll be talking about liquidity in any market. But if I make a demand and I cannot get what I ask for, then it means it is either that particular currency is not available, or it is available but the price is slightly higher. So as we speak, the parallel market, in my view, is more of a reflection of what the value of the currency is at around 595, 592 levels. But the big question is, will the CBN consider moving or devaluing the currency from the current rate of around 417 to as high as 592? I'm not really sure the CBN is willing to do that, as they do not even believe or they do not even regard the parallel market as one to really reckon with. But I think that is where the right pricing is. So if we want to get the currency pricing right, the CBN, in my view, should consider devaluing the currency to around where the parallel market is, and then tighten every other sort of loose point to ensure that the currency is stable afterwards. If we do not do that, chances are that the spread between the official market and the parallel market will get to around 200, 250 Naira before the end of this year, in my opinion.
Great stuff there, Mr. Ibrahim. It's a Monday, so let's look at what's happening with regards to costs of some basic food items. Let's focus on bread now. We've seen the effect of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Even the AFDB's president, Dr. Akim Adesina, was out to say that price of bread is running out of what just anyone can afford. That, of course, means more people are being pushed into the poverty space. What is your reaction to the global issue and how far we have gone with all of the effects that it impacts on us as a country?
I think, unfortunately, that development has really affected us as a country, and it indicates that Nigerian consumers generally are feeling the pain. Let us look at some numbers in this case. Let us start from the overall economy. The MBS just published, Q4 GDP number that shows, that the economy expanded by about 3.9%. And that approach of the GDP is based on expenditure, which means that, what we spend as people, and expenditure is a reflection of, what your income level is. So we have, in the past 1 year, seen the prices of wheat flour go up by around 35%. And in a consistent manner, we have also seen the prices of bread go up by also 35% over the same 1 year period. So what that means is that the pocket of the Nigerian consumers on average has expanded by around 3.9% in terms of income, but in terms of the prices of bread, the prices have gone up by around 35%. So there will be a challenge around consuming that kind of food products for basic consumers. The second view to my mind also is around the minimum wage. We have seen bread prices rise by 35% in the past 1 year. The question is, have we seen the minimum wage, which is currently 30,000 naira, have we seen it rise by 35% over the same period? The answer is no. And that is a reflection of the pains that the Nigerian consumers are facing because of higher prices of commodity globally and also the local impact on their pockets, in my opinion.
Great stuff. The fertilizer is also something that the price is about 300% up, and according to AFDB, a shortage of about 2 million metric tons of food might come one way or the other, of grains who might be affected one way or the other in this year. What impact do you think scarcity or the hike in the price of fertilizer, what will it be on Nigeria's fragile agricultural space? We are still struggling for survival one way or the other.
So the impact most likely is going to be in the prices of locally produced, food items. If we take a look at, flour, and we talk about wheat flour, naturally we can link both of them to imported price increases, considering that we import, about 5 million tons of wheat into this country, and we are going to feel the impact of any changes in prices, globally. But what about alternatives, or let me say substitutes to, bread flour? One of the key substitutes is yam. And yam, over the same period in the past 1 year, the prices have gone up by 35%, which means as we are seeing bread prices going higher, we are also seeing the prices of substitutes to bread also going higher. And that is largely being driven by the prices or the cost of fertilizer, for instance. So fertilizer speaks to what we produce locally and how the farmers are able to get it at relatively cheap prices. If they do not get it at cheap prices, they are going to also pass the price increases to their farm produce, ranging from yam, beans, and every other price, farm produce that, we consume locally. So on that front too, it is also not good for the pocket of Nigerian consumers, in my opinion.
Great stuff there, Mr. Tajuddin. Let's wrap up on this note. AFDB is developing an emergency food plan. About $1.5 billion will be used to support African countries to produce some food. What do you think about this kind of intervention, and how well will it impact moving on?
The intervention is good, and it should be positive for the agriculture sector. But what I think is very important is the utilization of that fund. Nigeria would have to utilize it in an efficient manner, and also in a manner that ensures that average Nigerians feel the impact positively. When that money comes in, it should be used partly to subsidize fertilizers. We should also not shy away from supporting the farmers from a security perspective, just so that they can go to their farms and farm in peace without being harassed by militants or insurgents. So we need to put all this in place in spending that money and ensure that we can account for it, and it has a positive impact on the lives of Nigerians, generally speaking, in my view.
Something came to my mind before I let you go, and it's back to the forex issue that we started with. Some say the BDCs, all they need is regulation, supervision, and stops like tracking their transactions, that if that happens, there could be more transparency along that space. I don't know if you agree with that.
Absolutely, I agree. But I think, the BDC would have to do a lot more. And, they need, increased engagement with the CBN. And, so they really have to convince the CBN that when admitted back to the market, regulation and also plans and strategy that will ensure that they support the overall objective of the CBN around FX stability, are achieved, by the time they bring them back. They really are, have to engage the CBN. I agree that they need regulation and they should just take the right steps, in my view.
It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for starting the week for us on the show. I've been speaking to Mr. Tajuddin Ibrahim, who's the Director of Research and Strategy, Chapel Hill, Denham. Do enjoy the rest of your day and the week.